Hi Fundis, you're welcome for today's live stream feedback session. I hope you've been working well with your assignments that you have, and I hope you have done a good job, as you are going to be seeing. But I am so concerned most of you are not doing the work. Now, if you do not do the work, it means that you won't get the German certificate at the end, and you would not also get a chance for your ideas to be evaluated. Remember when we were starting, I told you about the Kamba proverb of that bird that flies from the ground and eventually lands on an anthill. That bird has not done any work. It hasn't. So I want you to get off the ground and fly with your ideas that you have, and you want to see the new CEOs in Africa. That's all that we want to see. We do not want to just teach you and you get knowledge about how startups um, are created, but we would want you to do a startup, to have your own startup, own a business. That is our intention. It is not about you to just have the knowledge, otherwise, we will send it to you and you read, but it's about the practicability of you starting a business and taking you through the rigor, taking you through the steps. I know 11 weeks are a lot of time, but you have to be patient and slowly learn. That's all. There is no shortcut, and you have to learn it the hard way. Sometimes the assignments may appear to be very hard for you. Sometimes your friends may say, um, we cannot be able to make it, but especially group leaders, I'm tasking you, please make sure you motivate your team to work on the assignment and deliver. Because in the end, when the business is successful, all of you are going to really become rich, all of you are going to become CEOs, all of you are going to own businesses that, like, no one else has ever owned. In our our kickoff session, I shared with you some of the most powerful um, startups that we have in Africa, and I shared with you Cellland, I shared with you Safaricom, which is M-Pesa. I shared with you um, Copper Solar. I shared with you the Safe Border, which is in Uganda. All these businesses started as startups, but because they gave it time, because they gave it thought, because they gave it endless weeks of sleepless nights and thinking and redesigning, doing things, and you feel they do not work out, and then you eventually go back to the drawing board and think afresh. That's how they went through the process, and eventually they have businesses that we admire. So a journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step, and that one step that you're making is the time that you're giving into developing your ideas, allowing to go through on part of your course load that you have, but also spare some time to do the startup exercises and make sure that your businesses are good. So I hope we are now on the same page, and next week I hope to see even those that have not been able to submit their work. This week I am alarmed I have only 4, yet we started on a good page, 22 of us, 22 groups. I don't know where the rest of the groups are. I don't know why they are falling out. But if you have challenges, like some of you have always talked to me and we see how we can be able to panel beat the challenges so that you can have a fruitful uh, presentation. So today we are still going to talk about, is my camera? Yes, my camera is here. Yeah, we are still going to talk about the founding a business, the model that you are going through of Cellland University. Last week, before we go to our reviews, last week, the first video talked about prevention of early failure. Why do people fail usually, and how can it be prevented? If you check those two photos, the photo on the left and the photo on the right, yeah, the photo on the left, on my left, which is I think your right, is something that you may not easily understand. Okay, you might call it a ball, you might call it a kidney, you might call it a seed, you might call it anything you do not understand. So that is an abstract. Okay, an abstract represents ideas that are not concrete, but as you get together your abstract and work on it and know what exactly you need for that abstract to grow into an idea, into a business idea. You move to a stage where you have concrete visualization of your idea. That's what we talked about last week. That from an abstract, you move to a concrete idea. And in between there is a space called materials. So in order for you to prevent early failure, you need to know what materials you need in order for you to develop your business into a concrete idea, to move it from an abstract into a concrete idea. So the two pictures, one is a fetus that is being formed, and then eventually it grows into a baby. Why? Because there is somebody in between there who was able to know what materials are needed, what essentials are needed to grow this fetus into a baby. And now that is a baby that you're seeing here at 4 weeks, here at 9 months. So that is how businesses are. That in order for you to deal with issues of, getting your idea right, you need to define what you want, get together all the materials that you will need, and then you will eventually grow into a concrete idea where everybody can be able to know that this is a business that is dealing with parking, this is a business that is dealing with food supply, this is a business that is dealing with collection of garbage, because those are the ideas that most of you have been having. So that is how it is. That was the first one. The second video of last week that we looked at in session 4 was about prototypes and visualizing. That after you have now got the concrete ideas of the business that you want to start, you have now to design a prototype. A prototype is how your business will function when you launch it out. Okay, that's a prototype. And there were 4 methods that we talked about, if not 5. The fifth one was a video, but I will not talk about video. But this is what we said. In picture 1, we said that you will form a dummy. A dummy, usually dummies are done in PowerPoint. How will your business look like? Okay, create it and see how it looks like. Now, this guy, I think, wanted to design a truck, but you can see he has painted the truck. How will it look when it is red? How will it look when it is green? How about blue? How about, gray? So all those forms are dummies that he created. And you can also create a dummy for your business idea, meaning that you're going to get it from how you intend it to work, what designs it will have, and then try to play it around and present it to for testing. That is a prototype. Example number 1. Number 2 is you can see a grandmother. I know Kenyans are familiar with her. That is Mama Sarah, the step grandmother, RIP, of President Barack Obama. Now, if President Barack Obama wants to communicate to Mama Sarah, what he usually did was to write a letter in the simplest form that Mama Sarah would understand, not the English that he uses while he's campaigning. So for your businesses to actually thrive, you have to write it in an understandable way, in a way that a grandmother can understand. That is the simplest way possible, because your customers will not have the time to interface with you to ask you questions. But in order for you to prevent all those questions that may come, you have to make sure that your business is in the simplest language that everybody else can understand. That picture down there on the far right, on my far left, those are toys. Those are toys that babies used to play. The idea is that you have to manipulate anything within your environment in order to form it to look like the idea that you would want to have. Then eventually you will see that in the interaction of those plays, those toys, you'll get a concrete idea of what you want. Then on the far right is sketch. If you have an idea, this is another method of creating a prototype. You have an idea. For example, there is a group that is talking about food supply from the garden to the final consumer. Now, In sketch, you have to draw the patterns of how you're going to ensure that food moves from the garden, from the farmers. What accessories are you going to use? What food do you want? What routes are you going to use? Up to when it reaches the customer. So that is the sketch map. They sketch it. Draw it on a piece of paper and see whether there is something that you have forgotten in between. That is another method of coming up with a prototype. And then after you have come up with a prototype, we looked at why businesses sometimes fail and consequences of failure. And in it, we introduced ourselves to the 3 psychological theories, okay, that may lead to failure. And we started with the one of Lazarus, which is the stress and coping. And Lazarus looks at internal and external demands, that if your demands are overwhelming, then your resources to cope with the challenging situations, then you will experience stress. And when you experience stress and you do not have enough resources to cope with the stress, it means that you will experience failure, even when your business is really, really, really powerful. The second theory that we looked at was the attribution theory or attribution process model. Within it is that somebody has internal resources and they have external resources. If your internal resources, so what you have to do is to make sure that there is a balance between your internal resources and your external resources. In that PowerPoint presentation, you can see it is on the far right of my side. In the internal, if somebody experiences and evaluates himself as being able and the tasks as being difficult, but you can be able to do them, then it means that you're in a step, in internal resources. When you think that you have the ability and the motivation to do something, it means that you experience a state of stability, so you can be able to match up with the needs. But for external, attribution is where you think the task is difficult and it is just by luck that you can be able to get through. So that's when you'll experience external locus of control, because your attribution is now going to not focus on the resources that you have, but the external circumstances that are preventing you from achieving the goal that you have. So eventually, when the balance is not there, you will experience stress, and so you will fail. The other one is subjective difficulty, okay, where you feel that you do not have enough resources to achieve a certain goal. Subjective difficulty comes from the mind, okay, that you do not have resources that are going to enable you to achieve the goal that you have set, okay. As you can see the graph, you move from mild to moderate and then to severe. Severe is when you think that your brain cannot handle what you have at your disposal, cannot enable you to perform well. So when you experience such a state, it means that you're likely to fail. But how do we overcome failure? When you reach that state, when you think that you're stressed, you cannot be able to overcome the challenging situations that come your way, the next thing is that you have to look for ways of how you can be able to get yourself from that place. Do not stay there. The psychologists usually use the words like resilience. That resilience is the ability for you to bounce back after a major adversary. You have envisioned that your prototype is going to probably be launched within the next 3 months, but you realize that along the way you forgot certain steps, and so they are taking you back. What are you going to do? For the group leaders, or you're part of a group and your group leader is not serious, so are you going to give up even when you think you have the best ideas? I don't think that would be the best idea for you. That in all the stress conditions that you're facing, there's an opportunity for you to use still the psychological resources for you to be able to overcome. And those are the ones that we have pictured there. One of them is settle for the median difficulty or the moderate difficulty. Instead of pushing now for hard goals, come to the moderate goals and settle there, and that is where you will focus. Okay, but do not go for the easy ones, because easy ones you can easily achieve them. So settle for the moderate. The next one is mindfulness. Okay, mindfulness. Practice certain kind of exercises that help you to recall your mind and know sorry and know which steps you failed, so that you can be able to improve. Okay, so that you can be able to improve. The next down there is, now you have to engage yourself into debriefing. Debriefing is where now you come as a group and review all the steps that you took and know exactly where you might have blundered or failed, or know where you had oversight over something, and then rethink and replan again. Okay, that's what prototype is about, and those are the things that were in the video. And lastly, we looked at self-efficacy, and within self-efficacy, we realize that this is a very important resource that anyone needs, okay, especially if you're in business. So what you have to do is that if you feel that your resources are not enough, one, you must seek to improve your competencies that you have. The number two, you have to seek to increase mastery. Number three, verbal persuasion or role models. You must be able to have role models that are going to be able to inspire you to be able to perform very well. So that was what we looked at last week. And these were our tasks. I want you to look at them and read them very well as we go to our presentations. Okay, those were our tasks. Okay. Now we said those were our tasks. Now let's come back. Yes. So task number one was for you to meet in your team and create your first prototype using one learned method of prototype. We said there are how many? How many are they? Okay, we said there are about 4. One of them is dummy. The other one is a letter to the grandmother. The other one is plays with toys. The other one is okay, that one you'll get. Then practice in task 2, practice individually one mindful exercise for at least 3 times a week. Now you watched video, the second last video, video 4, which had mindful exercises like the yoga. Okay, so I hope you have been able to at least get one, and then you have practiced as individuals. Now these were our tasks. This is how I evaluated you. Group 1 and group 2, I haven't seen your work. I would want you to do your work. That's why we are starting with group 3. Group 3 is the masterminds, and they are looking at productivity in the farming sector. That's what they are looking at, and these are their minutes. They say, we decided to mobilize farmers to plant and take care of their plants. We decided that we can be purchasing seedlings to the farmers that rhyme with the soil type. Now, for the soil type, you need now to identify who is the soil expert that you're going to use. Because, a team of 3, you may not be having you computer scientists, you may not be having somebody who knows the soil texture composition. So for now, you need to be asking yourselves questions. Who is the expert that we know? You remember what we looked at last in the previous section, previous videos? you now need to look around your resources and find out who do we know that we think has knowledge in soil composition, soil textures, and can recommend which type of crops can grow in which terrains. So you need to now to identify that one. And number two, you said encouraging farmers to use pesticides in their farming. Number three, so here you need also to lay strategies of how you're going to be able to encourage them. Number four, encouraging farmers to use purchase machines and use the available technology to increase their production. You now need to define which technology is available that you need to give to the farmers, because technology is wide. What technology exactly? Okay, is it at the harvest? Is it at the planting? Is it at the pruning and thinning? And what kind of technology is that you're going to offer? So you need to define it. We thought of the idea of the farm and the way to make the product reach in the market. We decided that we need to hire maybe a truck to be transporting them all the way to the town. Maureen drew a sketch of the farm and the market. We tried to figure out the amount and what it may cost us. Now, I was interested also in finding out if you have drawn a sketch, why don't you share it also with me so that I can look at and advise? Because you didn't attach it. I want to see how your sketch looks like. Ideally, I would expect that your sketch would include the things that you want to offer, from the things that you want to offer to probably how you're going to transport, okay, the things from the farm up to the end user, the customer. That should also be part of your sketch that you're going to draw, okay? And many others. The rest of the minutes, I think it was okay. Group 6, visionaries. As a team, we opted, this is what you said, as a team, we opted for the click dummy to give an impression of our parking application. Our click dummy involved various components. We wrote down what our application entailed using a PowerPoint presentation. And I want to applaud you so much for that, because you attached that PowerPoint and it's going to also guide us, the entire team, as we review what you have been doing, because yours was practical. You guys are really doing very great, and I am so proud of you. So our main question, this is what you say here, was that does the user require to achieve the final results? So we identified the login portal for user registration and a QR code, a Google map to show or guide the users when it comes to locating and booking the parking space, a timer to count how long the driver will be at the space, a calculator to calculate the cost, a payment method for those who wish to make their payments online, and some parking meters. So I really do not understand what you mean by parking meters, but I would want you to write something that will persuade somebody who probably would want to invest in your business, or somebody who would want to be part of what you're doing, to be able to understand. So break down parking meters. Let's understand it. But ideally, I appreciate your notes. You have been elaborate. You have told us what you want to do. Group 15, believers. Instead of using what you have been given to apply it into the daily business idea formation, you instead summarize the videos and what they were about. I think ideally this is a disadvantage to yourself. What you're supposed to do is use the content that you have been given to be able to implement into your startup that you are having. So that is my expectation from you, that if you have an idea that you're running after, believers, I want you to hear me very well. Use the videos that you have watched to be able to implement. Let's say, for example, you're looking at gender-based violence, which I think, believers, was that your idea? Let's say gender-based violence. Okay? Within here, what you want to offer should be seen in a prototype. What exactly do you want to do? Write it down for somebody, probably if you're going to be looking at funders who are going to fund. And if you're going to look at maybe helping to alleviate those issues, especially during COVID-19, okay, write it down and let us see how you're going to do the practical methods that you're going to use to be able to um, curb gender-based violence in homes. Let us see it, okay? That's our interest. Our interest is not for you to summarize what we have done, but our interest is to see that you have used what we have provided for you to implement it in your startup. Group 19, you used the method of letter to grandmother, and within it, you talked about creating an application that people can buy fresh organic farm produce straight from a trusted farmer. Then why use this application? This application and the idea behind it is to provide the assurity and confidence in people while buying good farm produce for food. Okay? So this is my comment to you, okay? Yes, you can see it there. I am saying, shall you specialize or you will take on all kinds of food stuff, including animal foods, okay? You need to tell us in this. Are you specializing at every farmer who has any kind of food you're going to be getting it, whether it's meat, mutton, okay, cassava, tea leaves? Tell us what exactly you would want to define by the foodstuffs that you want to reach the end user. Then the application will create a good environment for people. Here you mean the producers and the customers to relate with one another, as the produce of farm crops which are fresh will bring them together. Now you can, I think here you can say, this new method of purchase will bring the farmer and the customer together, so that the farmer can easily sell and the buyer can easily buy. I think that would look precise and straight to the point and in a grandmother's language. Because what is the role of the producer or a farmer? It is to produce and sell. And then the consumer is to buy and consume. But your role is now to make it easier for them. So you need to revise there. Then it will help people, you say here, that it will help people learn and understand the processes of farming and harvesting. My question to you is this also part of what your application will offer? Better said, this will remove any delays in the process of selling and buying farm produce, because understanding and learning in it is very deep and very wide. Learning, how are you going to measure that people have learned? And how are you going to measure that people have understood? And in any case, is that what you're aiming at? What I think is that you're aiming at getting the food and giving it to the final consumer. So all your ideas should center around getting the food and giving it to the final consumer. That's what I think. So this is the example of the week. Maybe we can take a routine of always selecting the best example, and then we review it so that we can be encouraged with what others are doing, and we can also work at our best to make sure that we can also perform. So the example of the week is the Kara-Fundi visionaries. They, of course, as you have already learned in the previous slides, they settled for creating a dummy, and this is their dummy using a PowerPoint. So this is their dummy. They say swift parking. That is how they would want to call their parking application. Parking swiftly and conveniently is their motto, and their vision is the aim to establish a platform that eases the life of all car owners by providing them with a platform where they can park vehicles conveniently and swiftly. That is very brilliant. As you can see, their vision is already straightforward to what they want to do, what they want to achieve. But my comment to you here, you can see it in this section down here, okay, which is highlighted. Recast your vision and make sure that you remove repeated words, because a vision is supposed to be straightforward. You do not repeat any word. So platform and platform, you need to delete one, and then you remain with one. So recast your vision. It is good, but recast it so that it is straightforward and has no repetitions. Okay. This is how their homepage will look like for what they have. Okay. Then here in the login and register, as you can see, I've made for you a comment. You need to be systematic. Things need to look uniform. If, for example, in the first one here, you have used a logo that has a car inside, then in this logo you do not need to change. Just maintain a car, don't put a P for parking. Okay? Because unless maybe you have another product that you're going to introduce within this application and you want to differentiate it from the parking, and that's why you use a P. But if the application is going to be totally about one thing, then you need to be consistent. Just use that, and that will be it, instead of you confusing your users of your application. Okay? Where do you want to park? This is how it looks like if people are looking for where they want to park. And this is my comment. Instead, change it and say, here where do you want to park? This is what they say. The user will be able to choose the location where he or she can park. The app can also or may also automatically use the current location of the user. Now, here is my suggestion to you. This is very brilliant, but I would think that instead of you asking people to suggest for themselves, let the application suggest possible locations where they can park, maybe in a 1 kilometer radius. Okay? Because they may not be able to know where the exact parking is. Assume somebody is new in Nairobi. How can they be able to locate the parking spaces within Nairobi? Instead, design the application to be able to accommodate the different parking spaces that you know that are available within all the different areas, within Nairobi, let's say, and then let the application lead people to that specific parking. That if they want to park, they know, they just enter the app, and then the app is able to suggest parking spaces within a 1 kilometer radius for where they are. Choose your parking space. That is okay, because after you suggesting for them the places that are available, they need now to choose their own parking space. Okay, details of the chosen parking space, I find this very okay. Okay, after they have chosen, you give them the details of how it looks like and everything like that. Then reserve the parking space. This is now where I have also a comment for you. Is it possible at this stage to create an option that enables them to click on arrival so that the calculation starts immediately they park the car? Instead of you reserving, okay, you might be still in jam, and then you reserve, and then it starts counting. But rather, since we know that it's in 1 kilometer radius, let the car reach there in the space that is already reserved, and then when it parks, it has an option of clicking on start now counting, so that it starts counting from the time that they have parked. Otherwise, somebody may not start paying even though they have reserved from the time when they are still in jam. What if now the jam delays? So people will tend to avoid it because of the expenses that may come by. But also I understand that an issue may arise, especially for people that would want to avoid parking. They have reserved, they have parked, but they have not clicked on that button. What you have to do is that QR code, you can encrypt it to the engine so that when the car stops running, as long as somebody has clicked on reserve parking space, if the car stops running, the engine, then the machine automatically starts running, so that it is now incumbent on the person who has reserved to stop it if they think that they are not going to use that parking space. And now the machine, the application will automatically update that the parking space is now available. And it is also very good, of course, from when we had a one-on-one with you, I told you that it's good for you to make a survey and find out what parking spaces are available within Nairobi so that you can be able to know them. And you told me also that you would want to mark those parking spaces. So you can mark and call them parking space 1, parking space 2, parking space 3. When the car is, when somebody has reserved the parking space, you're able to allocate them to, let's say, parking space 1, so that when he comes, he goes straight to parking space 1. So when he clicks and says that it is available, after exiting, it is easier for the coordination to happen that way. Pay for the chosen parking space. My comment to you is that you gave an option of cashless pay. Paying with cash, because here I see Visa, I see MasterCard, I see M-Pesa, I see PayPal, but I don't see where they click on paying cash. So that option also needs to be integrated into your prototype. Okay, check out the chosen parking space. This one I haven't made a comment on it, but I don't specifically seem to be understanding what you meant with this. Save the QR code. Okay. Will people be given such a code upon payment? Okay, so that they save it, or this QR code will always come immediately after somebody reserving and they have parked their car. So that also needs to be elaborated very well so that people know it. Okay, and it will not be nice for you to bring it in the end. Yes, of course, here you have shown us how it will totally look in the end, and this is where you end it. Now, having said all that, I want to say that so far so good. We are moving on very well, and this has been our 4th session. We have more 7 sessions to go. Today I'm uploading work already on your Moodle account, which you are going to be doing, so that you can be able to submit it in a week's time as usual. But I want you to encourage yourself and do this thing, because in the end, you're going to achieve. Okay? You may not see the benefits right now, but at the end of the 11 weeks, when your business has now finally launched, when you're now finally sure that you have the knowledge that it needs for you to do that business, you'll be proud of what you have done. So my advice to you is that whenever you feel stressed up, go back to the theories of stress and how you can be able to cope with the stress, and then you're going to be able to break through. Practice mindfulness as a team. Okay, debrief and find out at what stage you're failing. If that is not a case, go back to the moderate point. Maybe you have overstated your ambitions of what you want to achieve. It is time for you to go back to the drawing board and know where exactly are we failing and how can we be able to improve. So from me, I want to say that I'm waiting for your work. In session 5, we are going to be together, but in session 6, we are going to invite an expert to come and talk to us about the startups. So encourage your friends. If you can, please support them. Those that are still struggling with catching up with the work, and let us move together as a team. Okay? So from me, thank you, and let's meet later. Bye.